Greetings all! Today, we will be examining the legendary Fire Psychic-type Pokemon Victini, the Victory Star Pokémon. Always full of energy and ready to share it, Victini are legendary creatures whose cute appearances more than belittle the kind of devastation they are capable of unleashing against those that dare to hurt those they care for. Victini possess small, fox-like bodies with cream-colored fur covering most of their form, from their bulbous hips to their narrow waist, arms, head, and even the inside of their massive triangular ears, while the outer edges of their ears, their feet and hands are a bright orange color that makes them pop out of a crowd. They have a large, cloud-shaped, twin-part tail with 3 flanges on the ends, a large mouth with 2 small, cute-looking fangs, and a single pair of enormous, bright blue eyes. While there is very little truly known about Victini as a result of their extreme rarity and legendary status, these creatures are renowned for being living dynamos that can serve as infinite sources of power to anyone and anything they come near. It is unknown how they are able to do this, but it is believed that these creatures, though primarily fire types, are able to metabolize the weak psychic energy they give off and use it to fill their bodies with power from their surroundings, additionally fueling themselves with chemical reactions with the air around them to create an internal fire as well. These highly energetic beasts are able to not only use this power to make themselves a serious threat, powering themselves up almost instantly, but can also share this power with others, making them incredibly strong and effectively ensuring that no matter what the odds might be, these creatures can help any and all Pokemon win a fight and never lose, making their friendship extremely beneficial to others. While this overflowing boost of power can sometimes be too much for some Pokemon to handle, it nonetheless makes these cute creatures an extreme threat in multi-Pokemon battles, as it translates directly into their signature ability, Victory Star, which, on its own, has no real effect, but if present with other Pokemon on their side in a battle, has the effect of granting their allies more power to focus their attacks and aim them accurately, increasing the overall accuracy rate of their moves by 10%. As far as their stats go, Victini might not extremely excel in any one stat, but they are incredibly powerful as a whole, with strong stats across the board for the most part for fully evolved fire and psychic type Pokemon, the only exception being their base special attack stat, which is below average. As such, these living batteries can make themselves a formidable foe to have to face in almost all circumstances, and truly prove to be a devastating force to have to confront if they choose to fight. Interestingly, it is further noted that Victini can have access to 2 signature attacks that they and only they are ever able to learn. The first is the Searing shot attack, which they typically have access to from birth. In the case of Victini, their powers are almost completely pyrokinetic in nature, and thus require them to at least use part of the psychic power to deliver them. And in this move, these creatures generate a massive and powerful fireball from their bodies that is encased in a shield of psychic energy that keeps the fire from being cooled down at all once it leaves their body, striking full force at targets at maximum temperature to literally deliver a searing blow to those it hits. This move is not only deceptively powerful, but, more importantly, has a 30% chance of causing a burn when it hits, a dangerous trait when combined with the fact that the move is normally 100% accurate and unlikely to miss in many circumstances. Secondly, there is a very, very special move that only certain Victini know that goes beyond the damaging output of nearly every other attack known and definitely out of all fire-type attacks. The V-Create attack. This move functions very much like the Flare Blitz attack, but instead of coating their entire body in flames, Victini concentrate all of their power into their forehead and concentrate strongly, rushing towards opponents and slamming their head into them. As they do this, however, Victini simultaneously unleash a catastrophic burst of thermal and psychokinetic energy as they make contact, creating a massive explosion that deals tremendous physical damage to a target. And while the blow severely weakens these creatures from knockback and reduces their defense, special defense, and speed stats with every use, and is not always completely accurate, it is a devastating weapon that very few will ever be able to take and resist, and in turn, the most powerful weapon these creatures can ever potentially have as part of their move repertoire. While Victini are incredibly hard to find and rarely seen by many, it is important to note at least one incident where a specimen featured prominently: the Sword of the Vale incident. According to Unovan legend, 1,000 years or so ago, there was a prosperous civilization known as the People of the Vale, who lived in harmony among an otherwise barren patch of land, referred to as the hometown of the Vale. Although the land would normally have been barren, the people of the Vale apparently had access to a powerful device called the Sword of the Vale, which, when used in conjunction with a tremendous source of power, could utilize a strange energy weapon known only as the Dragon Force that effectively turned whatever barren land it hit into fertile land instantly. Although this ancient Unovan kingdom lasted for quite some time, it was eventually torn apart from within. At that time, the power source for the Sword of the Vale was provided by two separate sources, a Victini and Qrem in its original complete form. One day, however, the two sons of the king that ruled the civilization began to feud intensely with each other over how the kingdom should advance after their father's passing. The older brother, hailed in legend as the hero of truth, sought to advance the kingdom in whatever way was needed in order to further their understanding of the world and how it actually functioned, regardless of past thoughts. On the other hand, the younger brother, hailed in legend as the hero of ideals, sought to advance the kingdom cautiously and with a firm grip on tradition so they would not simply advance forward in time without remembering the ideals and beliefs of their ancestors. The feuding between the two grew so strong with one another that the original Qrem, which was to be passed down to the rightful heir upon the king's death, lost its ability to maintain mental stability between the two different realms of thought and suddenly split into three separate beasts, two of which immediately started fighting against each other. Reshiram, which sided with the hero of truth, Zekrom, who sided with the hero of ideals, and the weakened Qrem recognized today. In turn, this fission corrupted the energy within the Dragon Force, turning it from an instrument of fertility into an instrument of destruction. With the help of the Victini, the old king managed to fly the ship far away to a place today marked by the city of Ayundok, and created artifacts known as the Pillars of Protection to contain the energy of the Dragon Force and deactivate the Sword of the Vale. Unfortunately, when the Sword of the Vale finally landed, the king died from sheer exhaustion, leaving Victini trapped within the barrier generated by the Pillars of Protection. It is unknown what happened to the king's sons, but Reshiram and Zekrom were so tired from their fight that they went into stasis and sealed themselves within small pocket dimensions, each of which could be accessed through Dragon Stones, special trinkets that the old king had given out all across Unova to celebrate the birth of his two sons many years before, two of which were hidden by the sons in the bowels of the Sword of the Vale, that had been crafted from the remaining pieces of the rocky body Qrem was encased within when it crash landed on Earth. Although the legend of the people of the Vale was known by their ancestors and therefore many people that prospered in Ayundok for some time, no one ever dared to try to revitalize the Sword of the Vale. That is, until a man named Damon took one of the Dragon Stones 8 years ago and used it to not only summon one of the legendary dragons, but eventually captured the same Victini that had helped the old king so many years ago, torturing it into reactivating the Sword of the Vale and the Dragon Force. Although efforts were made by Damon's family to stop him, he refused to let them interfere. To him, the most important thing he had to live for was restoring the hometown of the Valley to its former glory. A young boy and his friends also managed to board the Sword of the Vale before it got off the ground, but they too were unsuccessful in stopping Damon. It was only after the young boy was knocked unconscious that Victini used its dream imaging ability to reveal that if the Sword of the Vale was ever moved from its current position, the Dragon Force would once again become corrupted, because Reshiram and Zekrom, who in a sense served as a source of influence on the device, fell into the stasis before the Dragon Force was corrupted and thus did not know the effects their presence would have. After revealing the location of the second hidden Dragonstone, the young boy managed to make it to the bottom of the Sword of the Vale and successfully reawaken the other legendary dragon, resulting in a fierce conflict between the two dragons that eventually drove the Sword of the Vale into chaos. The efforts made by both dragons after realizing their mistake, and the boarded trainers to not only stop the Dragon Force, but destroy the only thing keeping it from being stopped, the Pillars of Protection, eventually drove the entire structure to rocket upward into the coldest reaches of the atmosphere. While almost everyone was able to make it out safely, the young boy stayed behind in order to rescue the Victini that was still sealed within the inner mechanics of the Sword of the Vale. The boy would have perished if the Victini had not used its most powerful move, the V-Create attack, to shatter the ice encroaching upon the Sword of the Vale and destroy the Pillars of Protection, allowing them all to escape to the planet's surface. It is reported that Damon realized the error of his ways and managed to turn over a new leaf, leading the remaining ancestors of the people of the Vale to begin reconstructing the hometown of the Valley with more traditional methods. At this moment, the operation is still being conducted and is showing some considerable progress. While they might seem to be too adorable to be taken as a true threat, Victini are truly legendary creatures whose nearly infinite access to power can make them worthwhile companions to have on any day. The chances of you ever coming across one are slim to none, but if you do, make sure to get on their good side, as their normally friendly demeanors are much more pleasant to face than when they are angry. These small critters might not look that showy at first, but get in the way of them and aggravate those they care for, and you may find yourself on the receiving end of a searing blast of energy, or, if you are really unlucky, a devastating headbutt that will almost certainly ensure that you will be reduced to ashes if the sudden explosion and impact doesn't shatter you into a million pieces first. Thank you all for watching this video. It is always an honor to be able to speak with you all on the subject of Pokemon in a way that brings me great joy and happiness in my work. If you would like to keep tabs on past and future work, click that subscribe button, check out my work on DeviantArt, and don't be shy about following me on Twitter, where you can find pertinent announcements on upcoming work before it is officially posted. Links to both can be found in the video description. If you would like to support my work and help Miguel and I continue to produce more content for you and improve upon our presentation, please visit us at my Patreon page, which you can also find a link to in the video description.
Yep, no.
With that, I thank you for watching and I wish you well.